Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. We have Ripple Africa and $1 trillion of mobile money. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com at the top of the screen. $2.7 trillion market cap for crypto at the time of recording this. The market is up 0.5% right now. 69,200 plus for Bitcoin. We see 3,700 plus for Ethereum, and Tether is 112 plus billion dollar market cap for Tether. And number 8 spot is 54 cents for XRP right now, up 1.2 on the 24-hour, 4.2 on the 7-day. The range of price very quickly between 53 54 cents. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. Secretary Yellen is being dishonest when she says Biden administration hasn't taken a position on central bank digital currency. Listen, this is I'm going to tell you, this is not being lofty, okay? This is really important that we don't see a central bank digital currency directly created and issued from the Fed or the United States government, Treasury or otherwise, and issued directly to citizens. Because that is going to lead to a social credit score and total control. And we can't allow that to happen. We don't have a planet anymore if we let that happen. It's unbelievable. So, but, we've seen things like this go on, but God bless Tom Emmer for putting in the fight here. He just got a bill passed to stop that from happening on the House. We'll have to see what happens when it gets to the Senate, however. But take a listen here quickly.
I would like to say that the secretary is being somewhat disingenuous, but quite frankly, what she just said is dishonest. Remember, she is the Treasury Secretary. She is not the chair of the Fed. That's number one. Number two, she says they aren't doing it. Well, the Biden administration, she may want to check the executive order that said this is urgent, that they have to move towards creating a central bank digital currency, and they have to do it with urgency. And the president empowered all kinds of different committees and departments to look at it. This is why Congress had to get involved, and I get a kick out of it. Secretary Yellen, I got news for you. Congress does not play a role. You work for Congress. Congress is the elected body that represents the citizens of this country, not Janet Yellen and the Treasury.
Now, what's interesting about all of this is that if you'll remember the blockchain bill that quietly passed through last week in front of the FIT 21 bill that passed the House. You remember the one I'm talking about? It was a blockchain bill that gave power to the Department of Commerce. Okay? Now, what's interesting is that even though Tom Emmer, the majority whip in the House, is reminding Janet Yellen that Congress makes the rules, not the Treasury, however, there may be a little bit of a dispute to that, because if you go back to that blockchain bill where it gave power to the Department of Commerce about blockchain innovation, well, the interesting thing is the Department of Commerce is connected to the Department of Treasury. So at the end of the day here, the Treasury is knee-deep in this. Whether Tom Emmer wants to admit that part of it or not is another conversation. Now, that's about blockchain itself. And shout out to Big Skinny for kicking that open. He called me the other day, and I hadn't had a chance to break that open. But that'll be more conversation as we develop, as all of this regulation and stuff develops and moves to the Senate, and what passes, what doesn't, and so forth. But I thought it was great to highlight that for all of us about that blockchain act that passed. That's not the FIT 21, but the blockchain act that was passed in the House just days before. Now, Trump is out here taking note of the Biden administration and their failed anti-crypto army attack here. And he sees an opportunity to rally a lot of young voters here. Make no mistake about it, because when he was in office, he didn't want anything to do with any of it. Okay, but he's taken a turn here, and it's a very positive turn, and this is great. And we know Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as a presidential candidate, has also endorsed and an advocate for this technology and innovation. So this is what Donald Trump said here. I'm very positive and open-minded to cryptocurrency companies and all things related to this new and burgeoning industry. Our country must be the leader in the field. There is no second place. Crooked Joe Biden, on the other hand, the worst president in the history of our country, wants it to die a slow death and a painful death. That will never happen with me, he says. Well, you know, the people are going to hold you to that, Mr. Trump, because I expect you to deliver on that, because I am a one-issue voter. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. But, you know, I'm going to expect you to deliver on that promise, because I do believe he has it right, and I do believe he understands we must, as a country, be a leader in the field, because this is the next iteration of the internet. You can't afford to sit back and just make decisions like this. Now, with the calamity going on caused by the SEC and their oversight, and their regulation by enforcement and the power grab that they're trying to do, jurisdictional power grab, what do we understand? We understand that now, with the approval of the Ethereum spot ETFs, this is an admission that ETH is a commodity, not a security, right? So now we have cases that are going back and looking to have their interlocutory appeal, like Coinbase, heard again, because the SEC is getting themselves in this tough situation. They're the ones that put themselves here, right? And this is really the problem. But, you know, it's funny, and I've said this before, you know, the cynical side to me says the R's and the D's allowed Gary Gensler to just muck up this market so badly that Congress is forced to come in and do something. The cynical side of me looks at this and thinks, you know, I understand that the government, and I'm not kidding myself here, and this part's not cynical, but, you know, I understand that the real people that run this world and this country are not in office. That much I understand. The Vanguards, the BlackRocks, the State Streets, you know, the big banks, the pharmas, the big pharma, right? These are the real people, power players that actually run the country. And it got me to thinking, you know, if you think about it and understand, if you come at it from understanding, and even if you don't, allow yourself to understand that for this purpose of this thought exercise. The R's and the D's are all bought and paid for. Just like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said, it's a uniparty. They're not two different parties. They're owned and controlled by the same power brokers of the world that I just told you. So if we understand that, let's take the thought exercise another step. There are certain people in this space and inside government who understand how important this technology is. There are a lot of people that understand this is the next iteration of the internet. And we need to be a leader in this, as we were in the first iteration of the internet. Hello, Google. Hello, Facebook, right? And everybody else. YouTube, all of it. But they can't make laws allowing for this to come through, because the banks that really control everything, all the decision making, don't want it. Because they know it messes up their margin, because they make so much money on the friction of the system today. Not to mention the fact that they love fractional lending. They're addicted to it. That I can put up $1 million and borrow 10. And we all know that the $1 million the bank puts up belongs to all of us, so they can go get the 10, right? But the thing is if we're moving away from a debt-based society to a multipolar asset-backed society, let me give you a quick example, stable coins. There's no fractional this or that from that. It's 1-to-1 or a surplus. So there's no fractional reserves of that. It is a 1-to-1 or a surplus. That is the first step to moving the financial system and the banks off of fractional lending and getting everything completely back, starting with digital dollars. Now, I hope I take everybody through this properly, just so I don't lose anybody, because, you know, this, like I said, the cynical side of me through this thought exercise is this. Maybe it's just that they all understood in Congress that we're not allowed to just go write legislation the way Congress is supposed to because they're the uniparty and they're all bought, controlled, and paid for. So they're not allowed to just step and fetch it, go do what they want, and just run out here and go do their thing. They have to play step and fetch it rather, right? Unless you bring some people in that can really cause a traffic jam and a pileup legally, like Gary Gensler or Jay Clayton, and you really smash this space up and make a mess of it to where it is forced Congress to go write legislation for this space, which at this point, the banks have to throw their hands up and say, well, we can't stop them from not doing it. There's so much legal problems here and inconsistencies in the way this is happening that Congress must write legislation. They're forced to. They can't do it knowing it's for the goodwill of the people and the innovation at hand because the banks don't want it. And if we are truly captured under a uniparty approach, which means that elite power brokers run the world and both sides of the fence or both sides of the aisle, then this may possibly be one of the only ways that we could force this legislation to happen because everybody's on the dole. Yeah, I don't know the whole answer. Like I said, it's a thought exercise. I'm very cynical about these things, but that's what it feels like. So Coinbase is going back to the watering hole and seeing if they can catch the SEC and figure out which side they want to be on the argument today. Then there's this. According to the OCC, the U.S. has the clearest rules when it comes to digitization and tokenized assets. Under the UCC 2022 amendments established rules for negotiability, secure lending, and perfection of security interest in certain tokenized digital assets called controllable electronic records, known as CERS. However, if you own NFTs and do not adhere to the new amendments, your supposed ownership means nothing. In other words, regardless of how clear these amendments that have been established for the UCC codes that we've talked about and covered previously here about digital assets and tokenization, NFTs and the ownership of an NFT does not legally qualify for acceptance inside a regulation framework at this point because it's not recognized. So this, again, is an area where Congress can cover the gap here. You know, this is why I've said about NFTs and DeFi. These are a huge target for regulators because they're doing the bidding for the banks. Because the banks want to slow this down until they can make sure that they can come out the other side on this remaining powerful, relevant, and in control. Don't believe it, it's still true. Mr. Man, give him a follow here, talks about everyone wants to know if FedNow can utilize T+1 after May 28th. And it says, looks like we've arrived at the future here. The answer is yeah. You have all of this information he's laid out for all of us so you can see what the real deal is here. And it says the U.S. will never have a real-time 24/7, 360 payment system without real-time interbank settlement, and the Federal Reserve is the only entity in the U.S. that can provide that critical service. We know that to be FedNow today. Additionally, the U.S. will never have a ubiquitous real-time 24/7, 365 payment system until every financial institution has implemented a real-time posting system. It goes on to say the implementation of both requirements will encourage success and create a solid foundation upon which to build the future. That's exactly right. And that's what FedNow is all about. It is that market infrastructure built for the banks on the backside. And then we see this going on the geopolitical stage here. Ripple exploring the potential of CBDC in Africa. Today, the continent accounts for 70% of the world's $1 trillion mobile money value. Come on in. That is impressive. And here you can see here from Chad Steigrobber, I had to show it. He says Ripple and global CBDCs. Ripple and their stablecoin, a global stablecoin across all of BRICS. I tell you, you know, we went into this last weekend as a reminder, too, a refresh for everybody, how many different countries inside the BRICS coalition Ripple already has direct or indirect relationships with. It is remarkable, ladies and gentlemen, remarkable. Then this is the question I asked in 2019 when I had the pleasure to attend Ripple Swell event in Singapore. And this is what I asked Dr. Rajan, former central bank president. Take a listen.
The mic, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bradley Kimes from Investment Perspectives and Cryptonaires documentary. I wanted to ask a question about globalization. If you could talk about the idea of the old concept of the banker coin and a neutral asset being in place of a global reserve status of the dollar, and possibly that being XRP.
What you're asking for is whether there's a possibility of a global currency. And to some extent, that's what Libra was trying to do. And as I understand it, that's different from what XRP is trying to do. And
that's exactly right. And I didn't want him to go down that road, and he goes the rest of the way. But I wanted to play this clip to show you how long this has been the way I see this space, what really brought me here. I felt this way in 2017 when I found Ripple and XRP. That's how long. I've been here from day one for the sole purpose of understanding that XRP is a bridge asset that is meant to be worked into the financial system so it can ease the stress, friction, and spillover shocks on the US dollar serving as the global reserve currency right now. And if they get it right, XRP can complement the world in ways and help settle and move value and transactions in a way that has never been possible before in the history of mankind. And I believe they can do it in such a way that it actually strengthens the demand for the dollar, because most other people's central bank digital currencies out here in the world will be nothing more than a surveillance mechanism to control their own citizens. And thank God for XRP, because as I mentioned, it's a bridge currency, which means you won't have to hold somebody else's surveillance tool as long as XRP is in the financial system. Let's take a look at this real quick. XRP similar pattern. Next pump to 75 cents from Eggrag Crypto here. XRP is dipping below the 100 MA moving average, consolidating, then pumping above it. The next pump should close above the 100 MA and hold it as support to confirm the breakout. So we need to get above it and then hold, as he's telling us there. Some people forget those little details that he shares. That's why I love what Eggrag Crypto shares so much, because he's very, very thorough when he lays out his charts. His charts are super clean. And even a guy like me can look at them and understand them, which is quite a statement. But nevertheless, this is a great looking chart here. Let's see if we can get above that 100 MA and hit that 75 line and hold that mark. And then maybe we can start having that real talk about how close we actually are to the next all-time high for XRP. digperspectives.com. It's a great way to support the channel right here. All you got to do, digperspectives.com, click the Freedom Zone, come on in, help support the channel for next to nothing, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate all of you, each one of you, and your support, and anything you could do means a lot to us. And for less than cost a cup of coffee, you can get all the daily videos posted with 0 Google ads, and you can also get extra content that we put in here throughout the week as well, because we appreciate you guys so very much. So I hope that you join that. And by the way, the market is going to be opening up soon. These private groups that we have are going to be very, very meaningful when we see so many people flood this space. So think about it from that aspect too as you're doing it. So not financial advice from me or anyone else. I will catch all of you on the next one.